Brother, I told him not to film us because it's a personal conversation.
It's a public place.
Respect your brother.
No, it's a public place.
No,
You're recording everyone. You're recording everyone. Not because it's come to you, not
of course,
recording.
we understand
okay?
that, Sammy.
Then good.
I'm just saying that because of the brother. We have a personal conversation. That's it.
Then behave. Then when he will say is a prayer, non applaud, I will not applaud.
No. Is a form of hadith. So it has its own isnad for each verse. So if you start questioning the reliability of the isnad of the hadith, which is characterized as the highest authentic hadith, you're actually calling into question the Quran, because there is some hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari that's more authenticated in the isnad than the Quran.
The truth is, this subject is a bit of a complicated subject, and maybe we don't.
Right.
Have,
Okay. That's fine. But my point is,
we don't have the knowledge to talk about this.
Well, that's fair.
So better you
That's
need to
fair.
speak to someone else.
That's fair. Well, if you can get me Muhammad Hijab, if you can get me anyone, I'd love to talk with them. I don't know if they are, but if they do, tell them to speak to Chris, and I'll debate them. I have no problem with that.
You have mentioned that Ibn Asakir is before Bukhari, right?
What, sorry?
You have mentioned that
Ibn Asakir is before Bukhari.
No, it's not. Check it.
Well, in terms of
Much later.
in terms of the history, the history says that Ibn Asakir is about 750-ish. Although we don't actually have his works, we only have the works of Ibn Hisham, who came later. But technically, it's meant to go back to an actual written thing from about 750-ish. Al-Bukhari is like 9th century, so like 830 to 870, maybe about there.
Ibn Asakir?
Supposedly 750-ish. But whether I believe that or not is not the point. The point is that Muslims will try and tell me that, so I accept them at their word and I go with that. Just because it helps my argument. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
What is the hadith number?
Yeah, let me find it for you. Got it. Sahih al-Bukhari 4862. And I will read it out for you guys.
Just give me the number, please.
Yeah, 4862. So there it is for you. Take a picture if you want, so you can look at it at home. Yeah.
So here
Okay.
it's said that
So this is referencing the event, and I can show you by reading it. So it says, narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet performed a prostration when he finished reciting Surah Al-Najm. I think that's how you pronounce it. Najm, which is Surah 53.
just read the Arabic easier for me.
Yeah. All right, then read the Arabic. Actually,
Read it out loud, please, so we can hear all.
yeah.
I'm reading the Arabic.
No,
I'll read it after
I
him.
can
You can read it.
Okay.
Come on, read it out loud.
So this is where is the
Okay,
issue.
let me just read this and then that's it. So it says, narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet performed a prostration when he finished reciting Surah Najm, and all Muslims and pagans and jinns and human beings prostrated along with him. So we know what that's referring to, because the event in Ibn Asakir says that he was that particular surah that he was leading in prayer, and that at the end of it, all of the Muslims, the jinns, and the human beings prostrated with him. So it's a reference to it. And this is counted as
where's the
Sahih
problem? We
Bukhari.
believe in this. Where's the issue?
Because it's referring a story in an earlier tradition, which which you can find in Ibn Asakir, his works. Yep, the earliest
You know
surah.
that hadith, a lot of time there is extra entry to the hadith,
Well, this-
and it is not accepted.
Wait,
So
this
we
is
say
actually,
we accept this text as it is this one.
Sure.
In-
This is
yeah.
actually the minimal thing, right? This is just referencing the full
No, there
event.
is no way to say referencing.
Well, it's obviously the same story.
No, how you,
Unless you
how
think that
argue
Muhammad did it on
thing
two
is
times.
referencing. Because
Right, if I tell you a
it is in
story.
the same book,
Wait, if
we
I tell
can
you a
say-
story, and Chris came to Speaker's Corner, he fell over, and I don't know, lots of doves flew in the air, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
Then I reference, there was this occasion where Chris went to Speaker's Corner, and you'd be like, it's the same story. It might not have exactly the
but
same.
maybe I can go and say.
So it's the same story.
Maybe I can go and Chris fall down.
Unless
then
you
he
think it
fly
happened
in the
twice.
sky. Would that be true? It is
Wait, say that
everything.
again.
Maybe Chris fall down,
Yeah.
and the same story you said.
Right.
Then he flew to the
Right.
to the
Sure,
sky.
sure.
So
But
this
it's
is
obviously
referencing
referencing the same
issue,
story.
But it is fabrication part is fabricated by
Well, how
me.
do you know it's fabricated?
No, I'm saying just saying it's possibility. It is possibility.
Well, okay, but my point is
So
that
how-
these
how we check
narrations.
that? How we check
right,
that
well,
is by narration.
that's up to you. But the point is that there are lots of narrations. This guy that I quoted earlier in his book, Before Orthodoxy, he says there's 50 different narrations that have a chain of isnad that go back to the Sahaba. Now, if you want to say, no, all of them are wrong, that's fine, but you're probably going to do more damage because the people in that isnad, you're going to have to say are unreliable, and that goes to other isnads.
Sorry, did you check why they are wrong?
Well, this guy says they're correct.
We don't say, no, just a second. They don't say it is wrong, just, from their mind. It's because we have a chain of narration and studying of the men who transmitted this hadith. So if I come and put some true names like companions and the people after companions, I can now make a
I understand.
Hadith.
That's why I don't trust isnad hadith.
Look like it is
I don't
true.
trust isnad science because of that.
No.
That's my view.
No.
But my point is that if there are tons of stories that people are telling each other in the Muslim community early that this was a real thing, they probably believed it was a real thing.
Who said this? Now, for example, now we are three here, right?
Yep.
He's drinking coffee. If I say, and take a picture with you, I say, I met Chris and Muhammad, and we're doing this and this and this, and then I added a bad part. Should they believe me in each part? They believe that I met
That's
you.
why I reject the isnad science.
Wait.
I reject the isnad for that exact reason.
No. There's not a reason to reject the isnad. So exactly in this story, this major part of it, which is you read in Sahih Bukhari, absolutely true. Some added something.
The Sahih Bukhari.
Yes,
Yeah.
we approve that. We
Do-
believe in that. But if
But it's
someone-
referencing the story.
The other part, yeah, exactly. As I referenced this story. The other part, which is added, fabricated.
But that
And this is
predates
not only in
it. That
this
comes before Sahih Bukhari.
It doesn't matter before. It matters the criteria. The
But the
criteria
isnad is different.
you take with it.
But
So
the-
if he say that I will follow a certain
Okay.
criteria, that is
Why was
good enough.
Why was a substantial amount of the early Sahaba repeating these narrations? Because remember, this Sahih Bukhari one came back from Ibn Abbas. It was narrated from the isnad goes back to Ibn Abbas.
Okay.
Right. So why was Ibn Abbas supposedly saying this?
This is
Unless a lot of Muslims believed it actually did happen.
in Sahih al-Bukhari, you're saying, right?
Yeah, in
This
Sahih
one
Bukhari, it
goes
says
to
here,
Ibn Abbas.
narrated Ibn Abbas.
Okay,
so the isnad goes all the way back to Ibn Abbas,
Okay.
right? Ibn Abbas was it the cousin of Muhammad? He was the father of Tafsir.
Okay.
So you're going to throw him under the bus?
Okay.
Come on, brother.
This narration is right. If I come
but
and say
it's
it is
obviously
Ibn
quoting an
Abbas
earlier
said that,
thing.
That does not make it right.
But
you know?
but it's quoting
It has
an
to be
earlier
studied.
story.
The date when every narrator was died, where he met the other, was he a liar? Where he met this narration, is there a gap? There is study science will say that this part is extra, that is acceptable or not. And this is not only in this hadith, but in every other hadith that we check every part that looks like extra.
Okay, listen. Wait.
Extra
This is not
narration.
extra. This is actually a summary, and he's referencing a story that was told in earlier sources.
Where is he said?
Do you believe it was two events then? Do you believe it was two events? That Muhammad led the same surah
I believe that
and the same
extra.
thing happened? No, I think that's the same event. I think he's referring to it.
Yes, but he added extra.
Right. No, he left out things.
Or
Because the earlier story actually has more information.
Added extra. That is not.
But that's the earlier source. In history, if you want to know what the most reliable source is for something, you go to the earlier sources. And remember, this is widespread. There are 50 different narrations of this. Early narrations of the Sahaba saying this. So,
but look, Al-Bukhari said in his beginning that I will not try to read each hadith, every hadith I know.
you don't need
Wait a minute.
a few thousand out of hundreds of thousands, yeah?
He has another book, you know that?
Yeah, he
Al-Bukhari
does,
has
yeah.
another book.
Yeah, he has multiple books,
called Al-Adab al-Mufrad and another books. In that box, he said, I will put narrations. But he doesn't say that I will each hadith is sahih. In Sahih al-Bukhari, he said, I took on myself an oath that each hadith, it's for me a sahih. Ibn Ishaq didn't say that. Al-Tabari didn't say that.
Sure.
Wait, all of them, they said, we're bringing everything.
They are narrating everything they know.
Give it to the scientists.
Because that means that in the early Islam, it must have been a common story.
please.
You're making my point.
Please.
Okay.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
They are bringing everything.
Yeah.
So it is there.
Collected, then studied.
Yeah, exactly. Collected. The scientists can study it whenever they want. So they have now everything collected here. So no other one can say you lost some of that, even if it's
Kathir,
ضعيف,
right?
even if it's I don't know, even if it's weak, even if it's موضوع, even if it's not true at all.
Right.
You know.
But this is the point.
Still they are.
Right, but they're narrating it, and they're narrating it en masse. There's 50 different narrations of this.
They are narrating it even through.
So they probably believed it was true. I'm not even saying it was true. I'm simply saying they believed it was true.
You check the beginning of the book, okay?
Right.
They don't say that we say that this is true. They say, not like Sahih al-Bukhari. They say that we are narrating all that we
brother
have
in
received.
humanity.
Yeah.
Sahih al-Bukhari references the same story, and he includes it in his own hadith that he
You
thinks is
are repeating
sahih.
the same exact point that is not true.
Why don't you just
Referencing
accept this? Why don't you
this?
just accept that this is probably true? Because all the evidence seems to suggest it is. But because of your deen today, you reject
What is
it.
in Bukhari is true. We believe
But he
that.
references it then.
Where is the difference? Did he say?
Brother.
Exactly.
If I tell you a story and it's obviously
We
copying
are
another
repeating
story,
We are repeating ourselves.
yeah, but you
We
haven't
told you that there
refuted
is
that.
multiple stories that
Right.
we have to verify every
I
extra
don't. No,
addition
wait.
to say that this is true.
I don't believe Muhammad led prayer for the same surah and the same thing happened again.
No, you're
That's
not
less
getting-
likely
It is
than what you're
narration
saying.
Of the same event. Narration of the same event. Some of
Yes,
this
it's a narration of the same event.
Okay, great.
Right.
I agree on that.
Okay,
Some
so it's the same
narration-
event.
Some
Sahih
narrations,
Bukhari
some
says it
narrations
happened.
are verified. Some narrations
Sahih
are true.
Bukhari verifies
Some other
it.
narration we could not verify. We could not verify that this extra addition, any extra word is right. That's not only on this hadith, on multiple hadith. You know that. So when we say that one in Bukhari, if there is a one letter extra, we need now to do another verification for where this letter came from.
Right.
Okay, so this is verified.
But in his history,
Other-
in history, you don't take the later sources as more authentic than the earlier ones unless you have a very
But
good
this is not-
reason to
but-
do it.
but-
The earliest we have repeats that these are the different narrations that go back to the Sahaba saying this happened.
Okay.
In history,
May I
the
say something?
historical
May I say
approach would affirm that, not later
May I
sources.
say something? Okay. If I made a book, if I made a book and I collected every scientific theory on evolution, okay, would if I do not claim that these are true, even if they are earlier to some other books later on, if I don't claim these are true, that does not mean anything. I'm collecting the theories. I'm collecting the hadith, the weak, the mawdu'.
Right. Let's use your analogy. Let's use your analogy.
Everything.
Imagine you took all of the theories and the ideas and the scientific ideas, whatever, about evolution, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you found there were a ton, for whatever reason, 200 years ago, I know that doesn't work, but anyway, you would then be correct in saying it looks like, based on the evidence, whether this is real or not, that at least at that time, the people, the scientists there, believed in it. Because the majority of the evidence keeps telling you that they're saying these things.
If they are saying these things,
They probably believed it.
But we have our criteria of verification.
Wait, no, because some of them, many of them, they are writing books about ضعيف hadith, about weak hadith. They're saying this book is full of weak. Go and read it. Are they writing it because they are believing in it? No, because
You know
just
that,
they
right?
you know
Some
that,
books
right?
for only
Many
weak
books,
hadith.
actually.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm
they're
saying
writing
Sahih Bukhari is fully Sahih. Yeah.
They are writing it
Yeah.
because it is weak, and they want to write and make everything written and there.
Collected.
Yeah, and let's say that let's take the same story again. If I went now after and say I was with Chris and Muhammad.
Right.
Muhammad was drinking coffee. This is a story, right? This was the right story. Another time I'll say Chris was drinking coffee. Is this true? Because I told two stories.
Yeah.
One of them was totally right.
Yeah.
And the other, I added some parts. from my-
Which one
from
was
my book.
earlier? Which one was earlier?
The first one.
Right, so the historical
Doesn't
approach would
matter.
say you would put more
Doesn't matter.
emphasis on
It
that
doesn't matter.
than later sources. No, it does matter.
It doesn't
That's how
matter.
history works. Like every single historian
Yeah, but-
has higher emphasis on the sources that are earliest to the actual
Sorry,
event
sorry.
than later
you
ones.
You have to discuss
That's just how
us with
history
our
works.
criteria, not your criteria.
Yeah, but your criteria
Our
isn't
criteria
historic.
Is the authenticity.
My
of
friend,
the-
I'm being
of the
sincere here.
hadith.
The whole Isnad science is just a Muslim thing to help Islam deen. That's what it's for.
That's your opinion.
No.
That's your opinion.
No
But we
Christian,
believe it
no
is since early
atheist, no
centuries.
secular, no
For that
Hindu,
cause-
no one. No
for
one
that
accepts
cause,
it other than Muslims. If we had this
Yeah,
idea, right,
But
that
sorry,
as
if you
Christians,
have, if you have
wait.
to convince me that that is true,
Wait,
you
okay,
have to
put it this
come
way,
from
put it this
my-
way.
Right, from my perspective.
If we had the similar thing in our religion, right,
Yeah.
would you respect it as correct?
Excuse me?
If we had the same Isnad idea in Christian religion, would you accept it as
May I answer
authentic?
that? If I want to convince you, I will assume it right, then I convince you from your point of view,
Well, that's
This
what
is-
I've done.
No,
That's
but
what I've
we are
done.
not accepting our science.
Because there are 50 different narrations that go back to the Sahaba saying this happened.
Sorry, is there anywhere that says if there is 52 narration, whatever it is,
All right,
weak
so the
or
early
strong,
Sahaba was lying about everything, or
That's
Ibn
right.
Ashaq made it up, or Al-Tabari made it up. Like,
Ibn
come on.
He listens to people, they are saying it. He just wrote it down in his book as a week, no problem.
That's a Tabari.
No, it
He's
just.
collecting everything.
Yeah,
That's a Tabari
he
claim that he is collecting true, authenticated
True
hadith. Does he claim
No,
that?
all he is
The
doing,
beginning of the
all
book,
he is doing
check
as a
that.
neutral party is he is saying these are the things that are being said.
Exactly.
Right.
There be
One of the
anything
things that was being said
anything being
that
said.
according to him goes back to the Sahaba was that story.
Anything, anyone, anything
So-
that's being
But
said.
the chains
So-
of people between Tabari and between Sahaba, some of them are weak, some of them are not even
Then throw out
Muslim.
the whole surah. Throw out all of them in a sack. Why would you trust any of them?
That's why.
Why would you?
We believe in the narration and the authenticity of regarding the narration and studying the narration. Okay, if you want to tell me that narration is true, we don't care about numbers. Sorry, just a minute. So we don't care about the number. We care about the is it authentic or not. So if you want to convince me, if you want to convince me that is true, you have to convince me from my own book. If I want to talk to Christian
But
about,
I'm referring
about
to
is
your
Jesus
books.
is God or not, I will.
But I'm referring to the histories, the early Islamic histories, the earliest. They don't have a problem with this.
Did they claim?
No, what I'm saying is they were a neutral party. They recorded that these things were being
Exactly.
said.
They are
Right.
recording
And even
whatever
if I
is said.
take later, even Tayyib Bukhari affirms that this was something that happened in some sense because he's quoting the same story.
You are just going in loops. I
I
believe
know, I know,
explain
but so-
myself.
so-
I believe I
alright.
explain myself.
So we leave it at that then.
Anyway,
All right.
Chris,
Have a nice
thank
day.
you.
Have a nice day. Hi, good to see you, Mark. How you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good to see you. Hi, good to see you. How you doing? Hey, is it Asim or what's your name? Sorry. Amir. Amir.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew it was A something. I was
A
doing
something.
it. A something. Is it Asim or Amir?
How you been, though, man? You right?
Doing all right. Yeah.
I went back.
Go on.
Sorry, I went back and watched some of the things that we talked about.
Sure, man. Yeah. That's the question.
Yeah. No, I don't have questions actually. But I'm just saying the preserved tablet. When I looked at
Hey, good to see you.
When I looked
man.
into it,
Hello there. Yeah. After from here.
the preserved tablet is not eternal. When I looked into it,
Oh, okay. You don't think the Quran is eternal,
the Quran, the word of God is eternal.
but not the tablet.
The tablet is not eternal. No. The tablet it was created and on which was anything that was going to happen was written on it. But it's not eternal, so it doesn't exist in eternity. It's just God by Himself in eternity.
Okay. Well, I think the same point applies that the word of Allah as a thing that is somehow distinct from Allah.
It's not distinct.
It's not distinct, so it is Allah.
Allah is His word. I would say.
Okay, so the same thing.
Not the same thing. Allah
So
has
they're
a word.
distinct.
Allah
You need to be
has
very
a-
careful
they're not
here.
distinct.
Just take some time to think about these words. Distinct just means that you can identify them distinct from each other. Like me and you are distinct because, well, I'm not you and you're not me, right? There's some, but we're
and
also
your speech.
separated
You and your
because
speech
I'm
are
not you and you're not me, right?
Is you and your speech separated?
Movements are separated,
when
yes.
you were born and you cried, was your crying was distinct from you?
Hey, good to see you, man. How you doing? I'll chat with you in a bit.
When you were born and you cried, was your crying distinct from you, or was you the same thing? Or it was
Well, it's
just-
obviously distinct from me. Otherwise, how would I identify
That's
it?
strange.
No. You're confusing distinct with separated. Distinct just means it's something that you can pick out from something else. Is God's omniscience also His omnipresence? Or for a Muslim, omnipotence? Are they the same thing? No, right? I assume you think that they're not the same thing. Okay, all right.
I know omnipresent means everywhere at the
Okay,
same time.
so Allah's right hand and Allah's speech, are they the same thing?
No.
Right, they're distinct. They're not separate.
Okay, sure.
But they're not separated. I'm not saying that yet. I'm just saying they're
sure.
distinct. Right, okay. That means that you can refer to them in language as distinct. There is Allah's word and there is Allah's right hand. Okay. Now, are they all a part of the nature or essence of Allah?
Yeah.
They are. Okay, great. So that means then